Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 4, Game 1 of the FIDE World Chess Cup 2015 played in Baku in Azerbaijan. As white, my buddy from the United States, Nakamura. And as black, a guy that I like too, Mickey Adams, Mickey Adams from England. So let's get to it. Nakamura is black. Nakamura is white and Adams is black. It's going to be a Pogo Indian. Let's just go through the opening here a little bit. Castles, knight c3, takes, pretty much all book stuff. Bishop f4, knight to b6. Now the computer says that's the last book move. Pretty standard stuff. Black's up a pawn, but it's only temporary. a4, c takes, knight takes, bishop c5, knight comes over. Black's going to have a hard time defending that c4 pawn. Eventually, white will get it. But the thing is, too, he's got some pretty good development. Look at white's pieces. They're really good squares. He's castled, and black's got one more minor piece. Queen takes, rook takes. The bishop finally develops. But that bishop is kind of awkward. It really has nowhere to go. Knight c7. Rook a5. Interesting move there. What to do? Mickey makes the only really decent move. Knight to a4. Now e5, kicking the other knight. Knight takes, pawn takes, knight d5. Knight takes, pawn takes. Okay, really complicated now. Double rook, 4 bishop ending. Oh boy, that's complicated stuff. Computer has a small advantage for white, but that backward d5 pawn is going to be murder to try to keep. Let's see how they do. Bishop takes. Bishop takes. Pawn, rook takes. Rook d7. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking today. I don't know what's going on. And it only shows a half-point advantage for white, but I like white a lot. That rook on d7 is just a monster. So Mickey decides to go after Carl's isolated pawn on a5. Rook takes, rook takes. Rook to c7 looks interesting, because then that rook is tied down defending the bishop, or he'll lose the c4 pawn. But Carl decides to go e6 instead. Computer didn't hate it, but didn't like it either. And Mickey decided not to take it. He did the computer move. And I know he was criticized a little bit for this move when he made it, but g5. You see why, of course. If black takes check. Rook comes over, but look, they will have the rook, the pawn, and the rook attacking f7. So this is starting to get, it went from a pretty boring game to, it's starting to heat up. Bishop takes, f takes, bishop f4. I like white. Computer shows it as dead even, but I'll tell you the truth, I don't agree with that. I think white has the upper hand. Well, one reason, of all 4 of black's pawns, they're all isolated. That's going to be tough, especially with rooks on the board. Rook f7. Carl checks. Rook f8. Rook b2 comes back. Rook a3 is going after the only isolated pawn that Carl has. Bishop e5. Decides he wants to try to trade rooks, but of course that's not going to happen. Rook b5. Bishop f4. He backs off the bishop. King f7. Rook d1. Got control of this file. And he's hitting this pawn. So somebody's got to babysit it. Rook b7. Now he decides to double up on the pawn, pretty much forcing black to go rook b6. This looks like boring stuff, but this is really complicated. King to g2, rook c8. So Carl's now going to hit the pawn again. Rook to b2, as we see how the bishop and the rook are hitting the f2 pawn. So Carl's got to be careful for that. Bishop b3, bishop takes, the rook on e1 takes. Doubling up at the same time, guarding his c3 pawn. Rook c5, but double rook endings, especially with all those isolated pawns. This is a tough nut. It shows a small advantage for white, but I don't buy it. I think it's higher than that. Rook takes, rook f5, rook checks, king f8, rook checks, king f7, rook checks, king g6. Has to guard that pawn. Rook g8 check, king f6, he has to come back. Rook checks, and king takes and rook takes. Now that's a weird way to trade rooks, but I like white here a lot. It's almost impossible for black to defend all those pawns. King d6, rook b7. He's got to defend it. Now he's got to use the king to defend the c4 pawn and the rook to protect his other 2 pawns, which now that rook is worthless. g4, king c6, rook a4, forcing the king up. h4, here come the pawns. Rook d7, and it's just technique now. g5, king b5, rook checks, king c5, rook. And this is where Mickey makes a mistake. Now the computer has a question mark on this move. And it's also the computer's first choice, oddly enough. So that's how bad Mickey's position is. That the best move is a bad one. He goes a5, rook a8, king comes over. Mickey's trying to hang on, but it's no use. h5, rook d3, h6, and that's where Mickey threw in the towel. Give you an idea, after rook and f4, white's pawns are unstoppable, and black is stuck babysitting his h7 pawn with the rook. Anyway, folks, I'm glad that Carl won, even though I do like Mickey. Tough break, Mickey. So there you have it. Round 4, Game 1 of the FIDE World Chess Cup 2015. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.